For many researchers, writing the literature review can be a daunting task. In this video, we will talk about how to break down that big task in order to make it more manageable. Now, a literature review is a survey of scholarly sources on a specific topic. It provides an overview of current knowledge, allowing you to identify relevant theories, methods, and gaps in the existing research. When you write a thesis, dissertation, or research paper, you will have to conduct a literature review to situate your research within existing knowledge. The literature review gives you a chance to demonstrate your familiarity with the topic and scholarly context, develop a theoretical framework and methodology for your research, position yourself in relation to other researchers and theorists, and show how your research addresses a gap or contributes to a debate. So the content will look slightly different in each case, but the process of conducting a literature review follows the same steps. Writing literature review involves finding relevant publications such as books and journal articles, critically analyzing them, and explaining what you have found. Now, a good literature review doesn't just summarize sources. It analyzes, synthesizes, and critically evaluates to give a clear picture of the state of knowledge on the subject. There are 5 key steps in writing your literature review, and this includes searching for relevant literature, evaluating these sources, identifying themes, debates, and gaps, outlining the structure, and writing your literature review. So before you begin searching for literature, you need a clearly defined topic. If you need help in finding or creating a clearly defined topic, go back to the videos in this series. If you are writing a literature review section for a dissertation or research paper, you will search for literature related to your research problem and question. Make sure that you only get articles and books in those areas, even if you come across fascinating books in other areas. You have to conduct a comprehensive bibliographic search of books and articles in your areas. Read the abstract online and download and or print those articles that pertain to your area of research. One good tip I can give you is to set a specific time frame for how long you will have to do your search. So the next mini step in step 1 is making a list of keywords. Start by creating a list of keywords related to your research question. Include each of these key concepts or variables you are interested in, and list any synonyms and related terms. You can add to this list if you discover new keywords in the process of your literature search. Websites like WordHippo and thesaurus.com can help you find keywords used in casual language, while you can use APA's Psychology Dictionary for psychology-specific synonyms. Here's our research question example. What is the impact of well-being on resilience among people who are in community quarantine? And because of that, we have these keywords as example: well-being, eudaimonia, happiness, psychological resilience, coping behavior, and even katatagan. You can also look for words with or researchers with quarantine, lockdown, and even isolation. So, use your keywords to begin searching for sources. Some useful databases to search for journals and articles include Google Scholar, JSTOR, EBSCO, Project Muse, Frontiers in Psychology, Elsevier, and Sage. Now, what you have to do is read the abstract to find out whether an article is relevant to your question. When you find a useful book or article, you can check the bibliography or reference section to find out other relevant sources. To identify the most important publications on your topic, take note of recurring citations. If the same authors, books, or articles keep appearing in your readings, make sure to seek them out. One good practice that I can offer you as tip is to use reference management softwares. These softwares can be used to manage bibliographic data and related research materials. You can even install plugins of both Zotero and Mendeley to your Microsoft Word or Google Docs. Using these apps will save you so much time, as they will automatically format your citations to your preferred citation styles. They will also create your reference list for you, and as an additional feature, you can even search for relevant sources via web extension or plugins. So, in searching for relevant sources, you can even use Wikipedia, but you need to be wise with this. For one, do not cite Wikipedia directly. I repeat, do not cite Wikipedia directly. Wikipedia can be edited by anyone at any time. This means that any information it contains at any particular could be vandalism, a work in progress, or just plain wrong. However, many Wikipedia pages include other sources or references and further reading sections. Now, these sections can be more important than the actual article, as they can be filled with a gold mine of potential related literature for your research. For example, in this reference section, or in the reference section of the wiki on psychological resilience, you can see here that there are a lot of potential sources that you can use. What you have to do is to click on each of these items, or if you find an item that you believe will be helpful for your research, you can click on them. You can click on the blue text here, but since this is a screenshot, I cannot do that. Anyway, so you probably won't be able to read absolutely everything that has been written on the topic. You'll have to evaluate which sources are most relevant to your question. So, for each publication, ask yourself, what questions or problem is the author addressing? What are the key concepts and how are they defined? What are the key theories, models, and methods? Does the research use established frameworks or take an innovative approach? What are the results and conclusions of the study? How does the publication relate to other literature in the field? And does it confirm, add to, or challenge established knowledge? You can also ask yourself, how does the publication contribute to your understanding of the topic? And what are its key insights and arguments? And lastly, ask yourself, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the research? Now, evaluating the credibility of the sources you use is of key importance to ensure the credibility and reliability of your academic research. California State University developed the CRAAP test to help evaluate the credibility of a source. There are 5 main considerations. You have to check its currency, meaning ask yourself, is the information up to date? Is it current? Is it current enough for your topic? Also, ask yourself, or check on its reliability. Ask yourself, does the creator provide references or sources for data or quotation? And what kind of information is included in the resource? Is your source primary or secondary? And then check its authority. Ask yourself, where is the information published and who is the author? And ask what are their credentials. Can you find any information about the author's background? Also, ask yourself, are they reputable? So, also look into the accuracy of the paper. Check where does the information come from. Is it supported by evidence? And then look for its purpose. Why was the information published? What was the motive? Is the creator or author trying to sell you something? And if so, is it clearly stated in the paper or in the information given? So, together, these considerations form the acronym CRAAP, a well-known method for evaluating source credibility. Now, to use the CRAAP test on journal articles, well, you have to, what you have to do is to follow this instruction. But consider that in general, journals can be considered a credible source for academic writing. However, there are some influential academic journals that are more reliable than others. Ask yourself, who are the researchers and what are their affiliations? Is the article read and approved by other researchers, or are they peer reviewed or refereed? And ask yourself, how many times has the journal article been cited? Many academic search engines will provide helpful information such as the number of times a work has been cited, or the author background. On Google Scholar, you can also see how many times each article or author has been cited. Search for publications within a certain time frame and view author background information such as a list of publications and co-authors. So for step 3, you have to identify themes, debates, and gaps. To begin organizing your literature's reviews, argument, and structure, you need to understand the connection and relationship between the sources that you have read. Based on your reading and notes, you can look for trends and patterns in theory, methods, or results. So ask yourself, do certain approaches become more or less popular over time? You can also look for themes and ask yourself what questions or concepts recur across the literature. You can also look into the debates, conflicts, and contradictions and ask yourself, where do sources disagree? And then look for pivotal publications. Are there any influential theories or studies that changed the direction of the field? Lastly, but among the most important of these questions or things, is to look for gaps. Look for what is missing from the literature. Are there any weaknesses that needs to be that need to be addressed? So this step will help you work out the structure of your literature review, and if applicable, show you how your own research will contribute to existing knowledge. So, as you read and evaluate your literature, there are several different ways to organize your research. One quick way to do this is to use a literature review matrix. Using a review matrix enables you to quickly compare and contrast articles in order to determine the scope of research across time. A review matrix can help you more easily spot differences and similarities between journal articles about a given research topic. Once you complete your literature search, organize your source by date in order to make it easier to see changes in research over time. Next, carefully read all your articles. Note any important issues you identify. The following broad categories provide some suggestions for determining your own subject headings: methodology, analysis and results, conclusions, implications for future research, and implication for practice. Note that there are many ways to choose your columns, headings, and these are just a few suggestions. As you create your own matrix, Choose column headings that support your research questions and goals. So, but remember, do not include column headings that are explicit in your research question. For example, if you're looking at resilience in adolescents, do not include a column heading for age of study participants. If the answer will be the same for every study, it's generally a bad choice for a column heading. Also, do not try to fully complete a review matrix before reading the articles. Reading the articles is an important way to discern the nuances between each of the studies. Here is an example of our a literature review matrix. As you can see, uh, in this example, the date or the date of or articles are organized using the date of publication. You can even see that in this example, they looked into the theoretical and conceptual framework of the research and also the research questions, including their hypothesis, and then they looked into the methodology and the results and analysis, and then they also looked into the conclusions and the implication for future research and for future practice. All right. Now, so there are various approaches to organizing the body of a literature review. You should have a rough idea of your strategy before you start writing. Depending on the length of your literature review, you can combine several of these strategies. For example, your overall structure might be thematic, but each theme is discussed chronologically. So, approaches to organizing the body of the literature review includes the chronological approach, meaning this is the simplest approach because it traces the development of the topic over time. However, if you choose this strategy, be careful to avoid simply listing and summarizing sources in order. To try to analyze patterns, turning points, and key debates that have shaped the direction of the field. Give your interpretation of how and why certain developments occurred. The next approach is the thematic approach. If you have found some recurring central themes, you can organize your literature review into subsections that address different aspects of the topic. For example, if you are reviewing literature about resilience during the COVID-19 pandemic, key themes might include factors influencing resilience, gender, socioeconomic status, educational attainment, and economic access. The third approach to structuring your outline is the methodological approach. If you draw your sources from different disciplines or fields that use a variety of research methods, you might want to compare the results and conclusions that emerge from different approaches. For example, look at what results have emerged in qualitative versus quantitative research. Discuss how the topic has been approached by empirical versus theoretical scholarship. Divide the literature into sociological, historical, and cultural sources. Lastly, you can use the theoretical approach. Now, a literature review is often the foundation for a theoretical framework. You can use it to discuss various theories, models, and definitions of key concepts. Now, you might argue for the relevance of a specific theoretical approach or combine various theoretical concepts to create a framework for your own research. So, the last step is writing your literature review. Now, like any other academic text, your literature review should have an introduction, a main body, and a conclusion. What you include in each of these in each of these subparts depend on the objective of your literature review. Now, the introduction should clearly establish the focus and purpose of your of the literature review. Reiterate your central problem or research questions and give a brief summary of the scholarly context. You can emphasize the timeliness of the topic, as in saying many recent studies have focused on the problems of X, or highlight a gap in the literature by saying, while there has been much research on X, few researchers have taken Y into consideration. So the next thing that you have to do is to write the body. Depending on the length of your literature review, you might want to divide the body into subsections. You can use a subheading for each theme, time period, or methodological approach. As you write, you can follow these steps. Summarize and synthesize your sources. Give an overview of the main points of each source and combine them into a coherent whole. Analyze and interpret. Don't just paraphrase other researchers. Add your own interpretations where possible, discussing the significance of the findings in relation to the literature as a whole. You can also critically evaluate the sources, mention the strengths and weaknesses of your sources, and make sure to write in well-structured paragraphs. Use transition words and topic sentences to draw connections and comparisons, and contrasts. So, one major issue I have seen student researchers commit throughout my years of teaching research is that they end the literature review chapter with the body of the review. This practice produces an incomplete work, leaving your readers unsatisfied with what they have read. An important yet often neglected part of the RRL is the conclusion. In this section, you should summarize the key findings you have taken from the literature and emphasize their significance. You need to show how your research addresses gaps and contribute new knowledge, or discuss how you have drawn on existing theories and methods to build a framework for your research. When you've finished writing and revising your literature review, don't forget to proofread thoroughly before submitting. Once you complete these steps, you will have a complete draft of your literature review. The great thing about this process is that it breaks down into manageable steps, something that seems enormous, writing a literature review. Again, this has been Dex Kabitan, and thank you for watching.